All right, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Happy Tuesday, December 9th. I can't believe it's already almost mid-December, so the holidays will be here in no time. But glad to be back with another incredible episode with a returning guest back on. So I can't wait to get into what she's been up to and all those things. But before we get started, hit my music. Let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Glad to be back with a new and incredible episode. Got a great returning guest waiting in the wings, so I'm not going to keep her much longer. But before I bring her on, you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, whether it is Apple Podcast, Spotify, we're on YouTube, BS3 Network, BS3 Network, BS3TVLive.com, BS3 Network, Roku channel, iHeartRadio, wherever you consume podcasts. We are there. And also you can follow me on all the social media platforms, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That's the I'm most active on, but I'm also on TikTok and Blue Sky. So check me out there. I Get the Real Deal, all those platforms. So I have a very incredible guest back on the show. She is a very busy woman. If you've seen her throughout, social media and everything, she is definitely I would say, one of the most hardest working people I know in this industry. Sideline reporter, sports broadcaster, storyteller. She is the creator of KB Sports Media, journalist, podcaster. I mean, she does a little bit of everything. So the all around and super talented Lakisha KB Brooks. Welcome back to the show. Really appreciate it.
Hi, how are you all?
Yes, how are you doing? And thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this. Like I said, we did this show back earlier in the year. Got a chance to, like an introduction, got a chance to know each other a little bit. So I'm so glad to have you back on. I enjoy the content that you do, and like I said, you have something almost every day and everything. So you stay busy. So, but I'm glad to have some time, and I really appreciate the connection that we have. So thank you again. Thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Me.
Yeah, for sure. So how has everything been? Like I said, you've been busy, all the things you've been doing. You said storytelling, how important that is. We're going to get into a little bit of that and, just running, KB Sports Media and everything. But how have you been? Have you had a chance to kind of just sit down a little bit and enjoy the holidays too? How was your holiday as well?
Holidays were fine. It's a touching time because my mother passed away around this time. So
I'm sorry.
So that's holidays are just another day without her being here. It's just another day for me.
Yeah. Well, we're very sorry to, prayers to you and your family always. And very sorry to hear that. And like you said, holidays is for some it's good, for some it isn't. So I always like to ask if you celebrate and all that too. But I'm glad you're doing okay. And actually you've been staying busy too. So that's a good thing to have. You have some busy things to do. So for sure. Yeah. So all right, well, let's get into it. Speaking of that, what you've been up to lately? Let everyone know if they haven't followed you, which they should be. Following you on all the platforms, but talk about all the things you've been doing over this past the last 3 or 4 months.
Okay, so we'll say the last quarter, so 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, right.
So covering, like you said, a lot of things, covering hockey, covering the Bar Set Tour which is a women's sports bar tour. I actually talked about that the last time that we were here, so I won't dive into that too much because we did talk about it before, but just doing a lot of hockey coverage. I don't know if I was doing Georgia State at the time, but Georgia State football, their season just ended. So I was doing that in the past few months as well. Planning some stuff for 2026. I'm going to be joining a radio station here in the Atlanta area, the South Atlanta area. So just a lot of great things that have been going on in the past quarter since we talked last. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have been, like I said, you've been busy. I followed your journey and a lot of great interviews and you said you've been doing a lot of great things in this industry. But talk about the hockey, covering the Atlanta Gladiators. How has that been covering a minor league hockey team compared to all the other things like other sports coverage you've been doing?
Comparatively speaking, I mean, all this stuff that I cover is great. So there's not one that's better or less or whatever than others.
Right.
It's all a different sport. If you watch a sport, you want to cover a sport. So I don't say anything. Comparatively speaking, all of them are great. But as far as my experience with the Atlanta Gladiators, it's been phenomenal. I have really great partners at the Atlanta Gladiators, from the interns, Cam, Shelby, to my communications partner, Guy, to the president of the organization. I met the owner of the organization. The players are amazing. So shout out to Cody and Ryan and TJ and Isaac and all those wonderful people at the Atlanta Gladiators. So if I miss a name, I am so sorry, but there's just so many amazing people over there that make you feel like you're part of the team. They make you feel like you're part of the experience when you're covering it. And I have access to cover their practices. And of course, through the pressers after the game, we've been talking about doing some features on some of the players, because some of the players people just absolutely adore and love. I get to do fan interviews at some of the games if I have time to do that. So it's just been really phenomenal experience with them. And I just always say that we know that every team may not be like that just because of logistics and red tape as far as like that access. But I think that that's the standard, is making sure that your press feels as though they're part of something. So there's a transparency and a trust there. And I think the Atlanta Gladiators are the blueprint for doing that for me as a media outlet.
You brought up a really good point about access and giving, do you have any access? They give you the access, and you're presenting, presenting the audience with something to look forward to as a media, media personality, Right. And I think that's very important because, as you know, there's probably there's teams that doesn't give you enough access. But with this, it seems like you get a lot of great interviews, a lot of great access. They're willing to share, and I know it's important just from the, just watching and what we've talked over, just for those few months that we've known each other, about storytelling, how important that is. And you can only do so many stories if you got great access. So you've been getting great access to the events you've covered or the games you covered. Talk about how important that is to you, just as a, just as a media personality, and giving access and, giving that transparency and the realness that you're bringing to your reporting.
Yeah, and I would just say, just in general. So I had the opportunity to interview Greg Reed, who is one of the best high school football players ever to come out of the state of Georgia. So shout out to G5. And he allowed me to have so much access to his background. Now, I do know him because we went to the same church and went to the same high school. I am a number of years older than him. But there were even things that I didn't know that he shared with me because of the access that he gave me and provided me. And we had a 2-hour interview. So it had planned to be about 40 minutes, but it wanted to be 2 hours because of the access that he allows me. But it's about trust. I wanted to have him share his story his way, from his perspective, not about me saying this is what I think. That's what it's really about. When people can trust you, they're going to give you access. So whether it's a one-on-one interview with Greg and I, or it's with a team such as the Gladiators, you have to build that trust. So, making sure you write accurate information in your articles, making sure that you double check it. Some people use AI, which is great for like proofreading and things like that. But sometimes AI throws some stats in there and you're like, that's not accurate.
That's not right.
So you got to like double check it. Or even your own intern who may be a researcher for you. We hear sometimes on ESPN, we hear them say, hey, my researcher did this. Sometimes you have to double check that as well. So we all make errors. Of course, AI makes errors. People make errors. So also in just making sure that your reporting is accurate. So when you talk about access, you get that access because you have to show that you are legit, you are credible, and then you're trustworthy. And so I like to think that I bring that to the table. And I like to think that I have that personality that people can say, I trust her. I know she's going to do right by me. And even if she challenges me with a question, she's doing it in a way that we can get information for the viewers, not to antagonize me, not to belittle me, because sometimes you have to ask the tough questions, but they're not giving you access to belittle them, to make them feel bad. They're giving you access because they trust you. So that's where access is so important to me, and the stories that I tell, again, whether or not it's a one-on-one interview or even with the team as well.
Yeah, I think that's very important. You said the legitimacy, trustworthy, and just being the authenticity, and even I known over your reports you've brought all of that, and you're bringing, like I said, the best access that you're being received to, and from the interview skills that you've developed to. With the questions, how do you come up with your questions? I've always find this fascinating because I always try to do that same thing, different and being accurate. I think that you said that's one of the most important things. But talk about how you come up with your questions, and when you're interviewing, because you're interviewing a lot of different. It could be a player, it could be the owners, it could be
Yeah.
the athletes itself, someone from the media team. However, how do you come up with with your questions on when you're doing your interviewing?
Well, you also research is
Your
very
research,
helpful.
yes.
It's very helpful. But if you have like a presser, a lot of times the game just happened and you have to ask questions. So you just have to
quickly too, right?
say
Yeah.
very quickly. So sometimes you don't have the stat sheet to say, hey, so I try to take notes and I try to I try to write my stories during the game. And then I'm thinking, okay, from this paragraph, what question can I ask? From this paragraph, what can I ask?
Yeah.
I try to do it like that as well. You have to be mindful of things. Okay, what do people want to know? Asking questions that people aren't interested in, like, isn't going to nothing. So it's just really paying attention. And sometimes, depending on where you are in the press box, you can't necessarily see everything. So you need to, listen or go live. Like a lot of the teams have their stats on the website. Like as the game is going on, you can see live updates, live stats, live play-by-play. Look at that stuff and say, hey, like even if it's a penalty or it was a fight or things like that, like look at that stuff and figure out what questions you want to ask. So when I do with the Gladiators, sometimes I look at some key stats. For example, I look at maybe power play, power kill. I look at shots on goal, for example. I look at penalties. I look at a lot of different things to say, okay, then you compare that, hey, how many power plays have they converted in the past few games? Or I look at, like, for example, Cody Sylvester. He is now 4th on all time in scoring for the Gladiators. Like, that's something you want to know. Yeah. Or he's now played 250 games with the Gladiators. So also sometimes with the questions, I look at the press releases that come out from the team because they'll post things because obviously they know it first. So I'll look at some of the press releases they send out and say, oh, this is important information. That's how I knew about Cody's 250 games. That's how I knew about 4th all time, because you have to pay attention and listen. So if you're there just watching the game and you're not taking notes or writing articles, it's going to be tough for you. So that's how I come up with some of my questions for like on the spot at the games. Now, if I'm coming up with like a feature, for example, I do a lot of research. I try to find out maybe information that maybe some people don't know. Yeah. And you try to ask questions about that because, again, people don't know it and maybe the public would like to know it. So that's something that I do as well. So.
All right, yeah, the research aspect.
Yeah, the research aspect.
That is key because you say you got to be accurate. And you said with AI now you can find a lot of different things. But what you said, you're right. AI sometimes is inaccurate, or they're not updated.
It's not,
it's not updated with their information. And anything too. So I think that's important as well. But another thing you brought up too was more of this is from our past conversation. You talked about how you'll find different sports that people might not be covering.
Yes.
I remember you said that. Yeah, for sure. Like you said, like fishing or just in general. And you said you're researching just to get as you said, you're building your brand, KB Sports Media, which we should be following. So I'm plugging that.
I love it. They follow KB Sports Media.
Five, subscribe, and all those things. Yeah, for sure. Because I think you do. I told you, I think you do excellent work with the things you're doing and everything too. But I remember you talking about. Yes, I might not be able to get to the major sports, but I can cover these other events, sports that hey, I can get in here as long as you said get access, trustworthy, accurate, and everything too. So I think that's very key for those that are trying to get to. Yes, we all want to go to Super Bowl. We all want to cover NBA Finals. We all like to do all those things. But you're saying you're covering minor league hockey or golf events and things like that. So I think that's very important.
Awesome. So yeah, thank you for remembering that. So,
Yeah.
I had a conversation with AI with ChatGPT because I use it a lot just
Mhm.
to bounce ideas off of because it's like
Yeah.
I'm a one-woman show, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
And I started to think about like, of course, Super Bowl, like you said, all of that. And a lot of people can cover those, right? They'll give out a number of passes, but even then they're very like particular of who's going to get those passes, those media credentials and media passes for that
Yes.
kind of stuff. So yes, the way I looked at it is when you are a small media outlet, which you are, which I am, which a lot of us are independent, whether we're a one woman team or man team, or we have a lot of people,
Yeah.
our name is a small market, which is completely fine. I had to think to myself and say, okay, let's say that you do get media credentials for a bigger team, which, some of us have. Like I've done TST, I've done the Dream, you get those media access
Yep.
credentials, right? But then you think to yourself, when it comes to reporting that news, where are you on the list of where people are going to get that information from? You're
Yeah.
going to be number 44. You're
Right.
going to
Right.
be,
Right.
and by the time they will go to you, they've already seen it on an ESPN. They've already seen it on, AJC, because I live in Atlanta, or Atlanta Live, or something like they're already going to have seen it. So unless you have a different spin or a different angle, you're reporting something that's already been done
Yes.
so many times that you're not the go-to for that particular team or sport or anything like that. You're just not, because again, so unless you're covering a particular team and you are contracted to cover that team, for example, you covering the Super Bowl, what are you going to say that's different than what everybody else is going to say
Mhm.
about the Super Bowl? Again, it's great. It's awesome. We all want to do that, like you said. But while your media company is growing or you want to stay small market, everybody's dreams are different, right?
Yep.
Why not capitalize on those minor league teams that need media as well? And they are, like I said, they're so amazing. They're so great to work with. After our call today, I'm going to be talking to the Georgia Swarm, which is a lacrosse team here in Atlanta that plays in the same exact area and venue as the Gladiators. I've always also emailed the Atlanta Vibe, which is our professional volleyball team, the Atlanta Truth. All of these teams need media. All of these teams
Yep.
need an outlet to share their stuff or to feature their athletes. And why not be KB Sports Media? Why not us be the go-to for the Gladiators or for the Swarm? Why not us be that go-to person for that? So I said, that's fine with me. I like to do that because, again, I'd rather be number one or two go-to person for the Gladiators and the Swarm than the 43rd and 50th person for a bigger team. So until we grow, and when we grow, yeah, maybe we'll go from number 50 to number 15. But in the meantime, why not capitalize on those? There's so many sporting opportunities out here. And I think that a lot of journalists, because, I want to do journalism since I can't wait to watch that Stuart Scott one coming on.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Like
coming up
I
tomorrow.
remember watching him cool on the other side of the pillow,
Pillow. Yes.
all
Yes.
of that stuff. I've always wanted to
Mhm.
do that. And my dream was always to be on ESPN and always to, do that stuff. But then you realize like in 2025, you can create your own lane,
Yes.
Ultimately,
Absolutely.
yes, you see what Cam Newton is doing, or you see what Pat McAfee was doing. They created their own lane, and now they're contractors, and now they're having either their own show on ESPN, or Cam does this thing with BET now. So
Yeah.
you can still do your own thing and have partnerships in certain shows with these bigger outlets. There's so many creative ways to doing it. So create your own lane, do your own thing, cover the minor league stuff, cover the stuff that no one else is covering, and you can always partner with the ESPN, like I said, like you see Pat McAfee doing, or being a contractor as a part-time host as Cam's doing. So it's a lot of ways to get into this industry that back in the day,
Yeah.
in your sizzle reel somewhere and hope that they want to pick you up.
Right, right, and it's just more availability with social media, and you said there's so many different things now that you can do. I mean, you
Right.
brought a lot of good points with, you said covering a major sporting event, you're the 50th person or the 100th person. But they're gonna go to those bigger networks first. That's
Always.
just the way these companies and the leagues are going to do, the NFL and the NBA and everything else. Yeah, they're gonna do it. But like you said, you're carving a lane for your media company and yourself that, okay, I'm going to cover minor league hockey. I'm going to cover the minor league, because like you said, they need media. They want to be covered too. They definitely want to be covered, and they want someone, you said, that's trustworthy and legit, and does the research to be able to tell those stories and be able to tell those things from that perspective. And you're doing that. You said, hey, and I'm sure as soon as you come in, they're like, yes, we've been looking for someone. I'm sure you've been looking for someone that able to cover us. We want to have those stories told. Someone might not even know locally and things like that. So I think it's tremendous what you're doing. I remember you said, we were talking about that. We go for the big events. We all want that. Like I said, I was with you growing up, wanted to be into this business. I love interviewing people. I love interviewing people that's in broadcast and media and things like that. That's the lane I love to do, just to hear their stories and things like that. So I think that's very important.
Yeah, and I also want to say that some of these teams aren't minor league. Like the Atlanta Vice is a professional team. The Atlanta team is a professional team. Mm-hmm. All of them are professional. They are their major leagues. All of them are the professional stuff. Like the Gladiators is a minor league hockey team, but the lacrosse team is the actual professional team. So, I want people to know that there's a lot of other professional teams, whether it's a minor league professional team or major league that doesn't get a lot of media attention. There's so many opportunities out there for you as journalists. But I get it. And trust me, you and I were like that when we were younger. You always want to go for I want to cover the NBA. I want to cover the NFL. I want to cover these things. I want to work for this network or whatever. Yes, that's great. And I think that we should all strive for that if that's what you want to do. But just know that there's so many other teams and opportunities out there as journalists. And it doesn't minimize your credentials. It doesn't minimize your ability as a journalist. I want to share that as well, because I think some people may think, oh, well, if I cover minor league or I cover this, then, that's saying something about me. It actually isn't. If you are someone that can bring those stories to life that are not told, that says a lot about your ability to do that. Because again, you can watch NFL and see kind of what they're asking, or kind of mimic that or whatever. But when you don't know anything about lacrosse and you don't know anything about hockey, you got to figure some stuff out. And you got to think on your feet, and you got to learn this stuff. Like, what's the difference in a forward and a defenseman?
Yep.
These are things you get to learn. And I think it's so fascinating, so exciting learning these things, because you have to ask questions based on this stuff. Yeah. And so I think that's another skill that you have to tap into as well. So again, don't think that you're less than and you're not a great journalist because you're covering something else. Because a lot of times when you're on ESPN, you're going to be covering those teams that nobody sees anyway. There's a lot. Let me tell you, ESPN has such a big group of contractors, of media personalities. There's someone that's doing softball that you probably don't know is doing that. There's someone doing those swimming competitions that come on. There's someone that's doing those smaller colleges in football.
Yep.
So you may get assigned to do that. So don't think because you work at ESPN, you're going to all of a sudden, be on the 6 o'clock, Sports Center, first take. They may say you're going out to Saskatchewan, Boo Boo Land, out there, and you're covering this team that no one's ever heard of, and that's what you're doing. So just always be humble and always know that, there's a lane for everyone in this industry.
Absolutely. If you get opportunities to do it, do it.
Do it.
Do it. That's it. You get opportunity, you said, to cover something that's maybe way out of the norm. You learn that sport. That's the researching and really learning. And then you're like, okay, now I'm covering this. Maybe I could be the face of this. I mean, you just don't know.
Sure,
You don't know where that would take you. Cover what you can. I think it's great advice. Cover what you can. If someone asks you to be, you be a researcher or partner with someone that's, I say just do it for sure. All right. Well, I got a couple more before I let you go. I know you said you got some busy things going on, so I guess
No, it's
I
okay.
really
I got time today. It's okay.
I got I definitely respect the time and everything. So for sure. Talk about the bar set tour just a little bit. I know we talked about this at length before. I think you was just getting ready to start. I knew we were trying to partner with each other. Just didn't be able when you were here in Philadelphia. I saw that. I wanted to,
Yeah,
to do that, but I
it was
know
great.
yes, it looked like it, and everything. But talk about the impact of what the bar set tour was, and the storytelling of that.
Well, I want to say it's not was, it is because it's still going
It's
on.
still going. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
it's ending for 2025, but there's so many other bars that we're going to be going to, bars and restaurants that we're going to be going to in 2026. So definitely want to say is instead of was. So
Yes.
it has been amazing. We've been to a few stops here. The first leg of it, if you will, it's been phenomenal.
Oh, think I lost you.
Oh,
Think
did I get
oh,
you? There, are you back?
there you are. Yeah, we're back. Yep, we're back.
Okay. Yes. So the one in Philadelphia, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I think I came back on before you did.
Yeah.
So in the one in Philadelphia was phenomenal because they not only had a watch party there, they also had the new logo and the name of their new bar they're going to have, which is the Stoop Pigeon. And there was a beautiful story about Stoop Pigeon, what it means to the city of Philadelphia. And so great story. You'll be able to hear it in the bar set tour, and Jan talked about it. Of course, I was in Atlanta first, and Jolene, and the story behind her logo and her cat and the journey she's still on. And so, shout out to Chelsea as well. And then, of course, we go to Texas and we meet Deb, and she's absolutely phenomenal. And if you go to my Instagram or even KB Sports Media Instagram, you will see this little candid conversation that she had, and this conversation and dialogue that they talked about 1972 and what it means for women and girls in sports. So any woman, any girl that's in sports, you really need to know that history and what Title IX did for us to be able to play sports. And hearing the story for women that were pre 1972 is so fascinating because I was born in 1984. So all I know is Title IX and being able to play and funding for girls and all these other things. But for those that grew up before that, it's a completely different time frame for them as girls and women that were interested in playing sports and the opportunities or lack thereof that they received. So just amazing stories. And now we're in the editing phase, which is not my favorite part of the stuff.
I know.
I like the interviewing, I like the filming, but
I know about that.
The editing, you're like, ooh, I have so much content and I have to cut this down to about 18 to 20 minutes. Like, how am I supposed to do that with all this? Because some of the interviews themselves are like 5 minutes, and you're like, I have like 5-6 interviews that are this long, plus B-roll, plus me. So it's like, that's the part I don't look forward to, but it's going to be a wonderful piece. We're going to start with a 90-second trailer. That kind of combines all of them right now, so people can see a little bit what to expect. And then 2026, we will then start putting out the episodes. So it's been great. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. I know the editing part. Yes, that's that's another thing. I think people understand when you have a podcast, when you're doing reporting, things like that. You got so much content and so many. Yeah, like even with this, I guess I'll have the full video up on certain spots, but then I'm gonna edit and have like a couple clips because that's the part that where some of the important things I want to put out there. But as you said, you're like, oh my god, I got to condense this down.
Yeah, it's like what part of the interview? Because with GM, we spoke for 17 minutes. What part of that 17 minutes do we want to keep, and what part of the 17 minutes do we not want to keep? What part of the 17 minutes do we want to use as clips for market? It's just deciding so much. And then on top of that, you have to, like in Philadelphia, it was so loud that I actually have to sync the sound up, take it off the actual mic, put it on my laptop, and sync it together so you don't hear too much background noise. Now, that's the part where I got pretty good at it, like doing it, but for those that are not in editing, which I will not be editing these episodes, by the way. I will be having somebody else do them. Now I can edit like my pressers and my stuff at the games, but when you're talking about hours and hours of content, it's just something I just don't want to do. It's just not something I do. But like transcribing at times, now we don't do old fashioned transcribing. Now when I had old fashioned transcribe. Now we have AI for that, but editing is like a whole different ball game. So for those that are interested in this field, either learn editing or get some really good friends that know how to edit. That love not just know how, but they love to edit.
They love to do it. Yeah.
The passion you have to have.
You gotta have it. You're right. You gotta have it. But yeah, I thought, and like I said, incredible work of the clips I did see of the bar set too. I was so disappointed in myself because it's like we were chatting. I was chatting with and just to meet you in person, just in general in Philly and everything. I think something came up. I didn't have the time or anything like that, but I'm sure we'll connect at another time somewhere down the line for sure. We'll keep.
Well, in the meantime, go to the watch parties that they're having, and then when they open. Jan, you hear it here first. He's going to be there.
Yes, absolutely.
Jan. He's going to be either at the watch party or when you open, he's going to be there. Is where you heard it first here.
Yeah, heard it first here for sure. It definitely will support and everything too. And like I said, I love that you were like I said it continues. Said it's still going, the bar set tour and things like that. So and that leads me to my next question: the rise and current state of media. Kind of talk about a little bit, but of women's sports and what you're doing. Talk about that, the current state of that, and for media wise, with in women's sports.
Yeah, I mean, women's sports. It's always been there. I think people are just now paying attention to it. And one of the things that Deb and I actually talked about when I was in Austin, Texas, was the rise of flag football. I wish there was flag football when I was in high school because I definitely would have been playing.
You would have been turned to stand it up, I'm sure. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Like I just love it. My niece plays. She's the only girl on her flag football team. It's obviously it's a co-ed team, but she's the only girl. So because she's the only girl, it makes it co-ed. Yes. But I absolutely love that. Their volleyball is always good for women's sports. People love volleyball. Of course, we have the Atlanta Vibe here. People love it. There's actually another team here in Atlanta as well for volleyball. Softball. I don't know if you're familiar with I think it's Athletics or Athletic Unlimited Softball League.
Yes.
So we interviewed one of their players in Texas. Beautiful young lady. I was like, girl, you should be modeling. Absolutely gorgeous. Just like Angel Reese says, you can be fine and be an athlete too. And that girl was absolutely gorgeous as well.
Right.
So we also talked to people that were playing a frisbee. It was a professional frisbee, competitive frisbee, ultimate frisbee. We had a chance to talk to them, and it was a women and non-binary team down in Texas as well. So there's so many sports that we women play that people aren't aware of. The Atlanta Truth, the football team, the Chicago Winds, also another professional football team that we have a relationship with. So it's just so many sports that I think are already there and people don't know. So like I said, we cover all types of sports and all, male, female, non-binary, doesn't matter. We cover all types of sports and we want to show and shed light on that. And as far as women in media, I mean, I remember growing up, I think I saw like Linda Cohn, Robin Roberts. Who else did I see? Chris McKendry was there as well. So it was it was to the point where like you can count them. Like, okay. And now there's so many women in journalism and women in broadcasting that young girls get to look up to because, again, at that time, like it wasn't as many women that we saw on TV. And like I said, I named a few of them right there, and I'm sure there was some others as well that I'm missing. But media now, so shout out to Ariana B. And I saw her at the hockey game. I actually interviewed her, and she's got a podcast that Todd Tucker is going to be producing. So shout out to those girls that are part of that. So that's just an example of girls in sports, girls in media, girls in broadcasting, all those things as well. There's just, I'm just so excited to even be a part of this industry of women doing sports. So whether you're a woman covering women's sports, you're a woman like me that covers all sports, It's all great. It's all good. I love it.
There's a lane for everyone, and there's
Everyone.
yeah, everyone that you said covering different things, different different sports, media, and everything too. I love seeing the rise of it, and just by the just sitting back, just like yeah, it's good, great to see. But you got a shout out here, Quan Moses. Says that good morning, KB. How are you
Juan is
doing?
one of my biggest supporters and followers. He definitely, ever since we met, I actually was at a golf tournament. Quan was on the live and he's been following and supporting ever since. So, hey, Quan, and thank you for your support.
Yes.
And all the thing you do to make KB Sports Media what we are. So, thank you, Quan.
Yeah, shout out to him. If you got any questions, sure put them in the chat and everything too. So, all right, just got one more. I want to talk about a little bit of what you can announce, what you want to announce 2026, and some of your things you got coming up, maybe for the first few months. What can you announce for the first?
I don't, you know me, I don't mind sharing what we have.
Yeah, you're open book usually, so yeah.
I'm an open book here, Courtney. You know, I don't mind sharing. Yes. So the first thing that I have going on, and I did kind of post a little teaser on my Instagram, on my Facebook, and everything like that. I am going to be doing some street hockey stuff in Atlanta. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. Right? We're planning some street hockey stuff.
Right.
Some street hockey stuff. And some hockey lessons, some hockey stuff, teaching people about it. Also teaching women about hockey. There are women that play hockey as well. So
yes.
So I will be doing some stuff like that in the first few months. And I had a meeting with those in Gwinnett County. So that's one of the biggest counties here in Georgia. And so I had a meeting with them yesterday. So very excited about that and what that's going to bring to the table, because I have absolutely fallen in love with hockey. Now, I did watch hockey as a kid, because at that time I was watching SportsCenter. I watched every single sport.
My goodness,
yeah. Time, so I was obsessed with every single sport.
Every hour.
I went to bed and woke up to SportsCenter. Like,
it's still on.
Like, it was insane for me. So I knew everything. So I've just fallen in love with it. And so we're going to be doing something like that. I also kind of talked about a radio station. So it's going to be here local in Atlanta, 100.9 The Blaze. So shout out to that team. And so I will be hosting a sports show on that. We're going to focus on South Atlanta, that Fayette County, Coweta County, parts of South Fulton, parts of Henry, parts of South Clayton, that area. And so, but I'm also going to be live streaming when I'm on air. So even if you're not in that area, like my daddy, who's down in Valdosta, who likes to support everything I do, he'll be able to see me live streaming. Yeah. And so even if you're not in that area, you'll be able to see me, hear me. And so we are planning that now. Very excited about that. And that show is really about not just the big teams in Atlanta, but also mainly those high school teams in that area, interviewing those coaches, interviewing those players. So that really is a radio show that's going to be focused primarily on that South Atlanta area. So I'm very excited about that. So those are some things that we have in the pipeline. Of course, the Bar Set Toy stuff, as I already said, those episodes are going to be coming out in 2026. Very excited about that. And just a lot of great things when it comes to sports and sports media. So just be on the lookout. Follow us, KB Sports Chick with an X, Instagram, KB Sports Media 2025 on Instagram and on YouTube. You want to make sure you follow that and subscribe, because that's where you'll see a lot of the full length pressers that we do. And of course, we just do some of those clips on Instagram and Facebook. And Facebook is KB Sports Media 1, and then my name is actually Lakisha KB Brooks, just like it is here.
Right on there, yep.
Right Absolutely. There, except for the apostrophes, it's none of that. But other than that, yeah. So this has been great. I'm always open to more questions, more conversations, and talking to you.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. I appreciate you and what you're doing. And like I said, many blessings to you and moving forward as always. And also, like you said, you're doing so many good things. You said like, subscribe, all those things, share. Yeah. I'm always liking, I'm always subscribing, I'm always sharing as much as I can. And I'm always, like you said, when you're on live, I try to jump in and comment.
You do.
So you gotta definitely support me for sure. And I'm grateful with our connection and how we network to what we are today. So I always look forward to to see what you got coming up and everything too. So congrats on, like I said, all the success and continued success moving forward. So appreciate it. Thank you once again. And yeah, we'll do this again next year very soon. Look forward to that as well. So again, thank you again. And again, looking forward to all what you got coming up.
Absolutely. So bye everyone. Thank you so much for having me, and look out for the great things that we have coming up in 2026.
Yeah, 2026. Here we go. All right. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. And enjoy. And I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, that was Lakisha KB Brooks. Follow her on all the social media platforms as well. Like, subscribe, KB Sports Media on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. So yeah, check her out. Incredible. She does incredible work throughout. So again, thank you everyone that tuned in. I got another show coming up later in the week. Another great returning guest. So be on the lookout for that. So follow on all the social media platforms. Get the Real Deal with Courtney Harden. And until next time, as always, peace. God bless. Be safe.